Hello and welcome back. This is Sylphid, and I have two guest commentators this time.
I'm W Dark again.
And I'm Anoya.
And we've got our second bonus dungeon. It's always struck me as kind of a weird aesthetic for this game to me, but I don't exactly know why.
It's definitely otherworldly.
Actually,
it's not like
Oh, go ahead.
It's not like this game has a shortage of ruins.
Yeah, I know. It's just maybe it's the music that's really throwing me off here because all the other songs
the didgeridoo
are so that's exactly the instrument that makes me feel weird about this place. All the other ruin songs are so lively and upbeat, and this one is so desolate sounding.
Is this the place you mentioned that had the not so hot gathering spots?
Yes, that's a weird thing. See, at the beginning, you can come to this dungeon very early in the game, assuming you have the DLC for it. But if you try to gather from here, you'll get a completely worthless ingredient. So, Gus thought ahead apparently and said that they didn't want you getting good materials before they thought you would. So, you just get a completely worthless ingredient here until some point in the game.
That's pretty tricky.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they thought of that, honestly. Yeah,
I missed a lot.
Yeah, this dungeon is definitely the hardest in the game. Although it's certainly not this group that's given me any trouble. I was doing some sort of test runs of this dungeon just to see what I would be up against, and there are some murderously powerful generic enemy groups. Like, I would try over and over again. I get slaughtered by generic enemies, even fighting my hardest. So, this is definitely the dungeon where ultimate equipment just simply is not enough to win. So, have you ever done any LPs, Anoya?
I haven't done any myself. I've posted a lot, but this is my first time commenting. Well, second.
Yeah, I first noticed your name sticking out a lot in RPG threads, like the Xenosaga one that's going on.
Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with this series, but never really got into it.
Yeah, I'm more of an action RPG fan, as you can tell from my history of LPs.
Yeah, W Dark definitely has a theme.
Well, speaking of themes, this certainly touches on all the anime stereotypes.
Oh, definitely. I mentioned a while ago in one of the updates, but this series is basically peak anime.
Oh yeah. I noticed all the...
I don't know. Tales can give it a run for its money, I think.
It seems to be a competition among Japanese RPG developers who can be the most anime.
Yeah, it's getting kind of ridiculous now.
Guard duty was accomplished.
When Linka says stop that action, that's not an interrupt of some kind, is it?
No, it's just something she says. She does have a move that can stop a generic enemy's action, but she doesn't say anything for that one. But it doesn't work on bosses, so...
Unfortunate.
Yep.
Figures.
But yeah, I actually had to record this single video in 3 parts. I wanted to get the opening out of the way just so I could do a big tour around the area, just to show it all off. Then I broke it off before I fought the first boss of this dungeon to get a successful fight against him in, and then I broke it off again before the fight of the second boss, so I had to fight the first boss again because I was out of resources. So it was a bit of a pain getting this video together.
Were there many deaths in the test runs?
Aside from getting butchered by the enemy group I'll be fighting soon enough, I got a lot of those, and I actually didn't lose... Oh, no, I did lose a lot of times against the first boss, but I beat the second one on the first try. Which kind of surprised me, but he's not as hard as he might seem at first. But yeah, this is all the PS3 Atelier games had this one area of the game you can get any material in, and this is that dungeon for this game. I'm pretty sure you can get any material in the game here.
So with the item
The
scaling...
enemy type.
Go ahead.
The enemy types here seem pretty varied.
Yeah, there's basically every kind of enemy appears here. Now this is the group I got slaughtered against constantly. You've got a fairly typical round of 6 enemies who all get 2 turns each, but they're all much more powerful than the ones in Cow's Paradise. So I had to use the Forbidden Capsules to even the odds a bit against these guys. And what that does is that it basically gives the character who just used it on 3 turns in a row. If Aisha uses it on herself, she gets 2 additional turns, then when her turn comes around again, she gets 3 turns. So 5 turns from a single item is pretty important.
Yeah. So what I was saying before, when you come here early, the items are crap. Do they ever scale up to mid-level if you come kind of in the midpoint of the game, or?
You know, that is something that does make me think. I'm not exactly sure when the game decides to start giving out real items. It's probably after the post game, but I'll have to come here with some of the save files I have lying around to confirm when that actually happens.
Huh.
Because if it's just after the post game where material starts showing up, that's fine, but it could definitely be something a bit more complicated. I just do not know. I'll have to check that out before I post this video. Now, it was typically at this point in the fight where all the enemies' turns are all bunched up together. That's when I almost always lose, because they'd just be constantly attacking, and I'd never get a chance to interrupt them.
Stop that action. Maximum output.
So these animations, are there any... Is there ever any chance to skip them, or do you have to watch them every time?
Every time, unfortunately.
Wow. That was one good thing Xenosaga had going for it.
Could you skip the animations in those games? I don't remember being able to do that.
Yeah.
Energy charge is now complete. Safety device removed.
But yeah, especially in this fight, you want to focus on getting rid of enemies one at a time rather than spreading the damage around. Because the fewer enemies there are, the fewer times you'll be getting attacked.
Yeah.
This animation is kind of long.
Yeah, it was impressive the first time, but now it's just obnoxious.
Target's energy decrease confirmed. Switching to last operation.
Now there's only 3 enemies on the field, thankfully.
That guy still misses a lot.
Yeah, I'm surprised with these high tier enemies that they can even miss. But they can, apparently. Now, one thing I really like about Aisha is that you'd think from the previous few games in this series that the main character would be kind of weak in exchange for her being able to use items. But Aisha is actually probably the single most resilient character in this game. I mean, she has the highest max HP and the second highest MP. But the thing with Odelia's MP is that every time she gets attacked, she gains a certain amount of MP back in conversion. So basically, she can never run out of MP. It's pretty incredible.
That's not a bad trade-off for her being kind of squishy.
Exactly. Yeah, see, they are just incessantly attacking. It's just really old. And now I'm in kind of a bad spot because the enemy's turns are coming up and Aisha's all by herself. But her portrait just slightly was above the other guys. But yeah, if you want to fight these guys normally, the hidden capsule things are basically mandatory.
All preparations complete. I can go
This is
anytime.
definitely a proper challenge.
Eliminating the hazards.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard, I was reading some guides on GameFAQs about
No need to
post-game setups, and a lot of them, one of them was advocating character builds that had 100 evasion on the characters, so they'd just be dodging attacks constantly. And I was thinking that was one way to do it, but the amount of time you have to take to actually get that set up just didn't seem worth it to me. And you have to make certain other trade-offs in terms of power.
Yeah. It would probably ultimately make the battle longer.
Exactly.
I gotta say, I like the idea of burning the enemy down to make it more manageable.
My duty. All
Yeah, exactly. That's how I approach a lot of RPG. I don't know why I decided to be so mean against this guy. Maybe I was just feeling vengeful at the time.
I can't fault you for that.
Exactly.
Stop. You will end everything with this move. This is goodbye.
Even though she's not technically wearing a skirt, it seems like the camera really likes doing upskirts on Linka.
Guard duty was accomplished.
Yeah.
Seems so, yeah.
But thankfully, they're bloomers, so...
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's no
I think it
door
might
over
just
there,
be
but-
habit at this point. There's nothing there, but they're used to going there.
Well, this is Gust, creator of the Arch Nellico series, so you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some weird habits. But this just leads back to the first part of the area, except on this little outcropping. Really just chilling there. I actually made a mistake here. I wanted to go in that door that I was heading towards, not this one, but I quickly catch on before I give you too much of a sneak peek at what's beyond. Maybe not.
Oh,
Eh,
Yeah, you all saw it. Oh well.
that should be fun.
We'll be getting to him soon enough.
it reminds me of doing the dungeon videos for the Tales of Graces. Some of those dungeons I just get lost constantly. I have the game on one monitor and the FAQ on the other monitor, and I'm just looking back and forth as fast as possible, hoping that I don't pause too long.
Now that last area was kind of weird. It seemed very small, but that's because it was at the bottom of a cliff. So there's nowhere to go, but we have to go through that dragon guy. And if you listen really closely, you'll hear the music break right about there. It's mysteriously a few days later.
War?
I do not like this guy.
Oh, now he roars.
And the main reason is that if he doesn't like you, he can easily wipe your team out on the first turn without you getting any chance to attack him.
Alright, I got it.
If he decides to spread, see, he'll get 4 turns in a row. He'll pretty much always end with an ice storm.
Oh.
If he spreads the damage around and then does an ice storm, you're gone.
Down.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty by itself.
Use this.
Yeah, exactly. This guy really hurts. I was kind of thinking about whether this guy or the Grand Dragon was harder, but I eventually decided the Grand Dragon was harder because this is a real shock and awe kind of boss. If you're just going into fighting him, you'll just be amazed at his strength, but once you've survived the first couple turns, there's really not much more he can surprise you with.
So
But
pretty
you
much the same pattern.
Yeah, it's not so much a pattern, it's just that you'll gradually gauge how powerful his attacks are and how careful you need to be when you're about to attack him, but It's not like when he gets low on HP, he'll start throwing out the
Cut down the obstacle.
moves that can KO characters instantly or anything like that. So there's nothing really new he does when he gets low on HP, but
My turn.
he's gonna be sticking around for a while.
I will not miss my aim.
This is why I usually don't do challenge dungeons, because they're more tedious than anything to me.
Yeah, see, look at that. He just utterly devastated my entire team.
Man.
But the reason Odelia survived was because I used an item on her that guarantees she can survive a KO with 1 HP. And that actually turned out to be the decider of this round. Because the thing with him is, he'll take out a target, and then he'll only have 2 targets to attack. And then 2 targets becomes 1. So
Yeah.
if he has to constantly throw his firepower around, he can't concentrate too much on reduce the number of targets left. So keeping characters from being KO'd is really priority 1. And this is another really handy move because it cuts the damage in half from the next attack. So Aisha should have taken a lot more damage from that hit, but the barrier field prevented her.
Yeah, everyone who watched the later bosses in my Graces playthrough knows exactly how important cutting the damage in half can be.
Except it's just a one-time thing for me, but it really helps.
Safety device removed. Executing target elimination.
Oh, this again.
Full power released.
And the other thing is never get overconfident with how much damage you're doing, because if you're throwing all your resources into an attack and you come up short, he can really make it hurtful for you.
Stop that action.
It's just a matter of grinding away at his power, because as long as you're careful about throwing items around and you don't forget to
Stop that action.
keep people alive, he isn't that bad.
So are there any attacks in this game that move enemy turns back? I'm trying to remember.
All preparation
There are
complete.
some moves that say they knock enemies' turns back, but I'm not exactly sure what the game means by that, since I don't see their positions in the turn order changing. It might make them slower or something. I'm just not entirely sure how that works. But as far as directly shuffling turns around, I don't think there's anything that can do that.
Seems odd with the battle gauge like that.
Yeah. I mean, it really helps to know when things will happen, so you can begin planning if you're about to get in trouble, or you can start pounding away at enemies.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, some of the more action-oriented Gust games had a similar timeline like battle thing, but they give you the ability to knock enemy turns around.
Yeah, I wish you could do that in the game, but that doesn't seem to be possible.
I really appreciate the strategic element it added.
Exactly.
And there.
I mean, the biggest problem with completing this dungeon is that if this guy takes up too many of your resources, you don't have a chance to resupply before taking the second boss on, so if you want to complete this dungeon, you better be packing a lot of items.
Will this guy respawn?
He'll respawn if you leave the dungeon and come back, yes.
Stop that action.
I mean, at least the music here is really nice.
Yeah.
Focus. Now I'm ready to go.
surprised at the detail of the item selection in battle.
How do you mean?
That it pretty much shows everything in the menu. It's usually
Oh yeah,
truncated.
yeah. The game makes sure you know exactly what every item can do all the time. And if I wanted to, I could just press select and see what any of those properties mean.
Stuff like that really shows you where the focus of the game is.
Exactly. I mean, there are the harder bonus dungeons in this game. It's not something you can beat through raw strength. You need to plan ahead if you want to win.
All preparations complete. I can go anytime. I will go all out. Take this.
And now he's down to the last 25% of his HP or so.
Now I'm ready to go. My turn.
I love music changes like this.
Exactly. If I was doing badly, like all 2 characters were KO'd and the last one was in critical, the music would change to a more scary sort of song that you're near defeat.
I'm surprised more games don't do that.
Yeah, I wish more things would more games would do stuff like that. I mean, with some games I can understand not wanting to change the music. Like if it was supposed to be a super important plot battle and the music was really important, I could see not wanting to change the music, but just to lighten things up, yeah, definitely I wish that would happen more often.
Restart complete.
But yeah, it's not that Odelia is terrible on the offense, it's just that Linka is so much better.
Yeah.
Energy charge is now complete.
So is Golden Yarn actually useful at this point in the game, or?
You know, I actually did that for several fights where I just throw out a random search to see if any interesting items came up, and no. Searching is only ever really useful in the Yggdrasil or Ancient Life Tree because they pick up time guard flowers. But the rest of the bosses in this game, even the unique ones, they just give you generic stuff. It's not really worth it.
Well, that's hardly fair.
That seems like kind of a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at this point in the game, I don't need materials. I have absolutely everything I could want.
Well,
But if you could like pick up equipment or stuff during battle, that would be cool.
Yeah, but if nothing else, it saves
Yeah.
you from trying again and again to get a piece of equipment you really want.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh
That always
god,
drove me
now I'm
crazy.
flashing back to Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
Random drops are the worst in battle.
Yeah, I died many times trying to get rare stuff off bosses.
It's a special super-sized bomb. Stop that action.
And I was really scared since Link had missed that hit that he'd pull another Grand Dragon and just start dodging attacks constantly, but no, he doesn't.
That's lucky.
Yeah, because a big part of the reason that fight drags on so long is because in the last 25% of his HP or so, he'll dodge way more times than you'd think a gigantic dragon would. It just makes grinding his HP down a real pain in the ass. And if this guy had any moves that could give him back HP, he'd definitely be the hardest fight in the game.
Oh yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Yeah, fighting a difficult boss and he gains back a giant chunk of HP, it's like the worst.
Especially when you've almost got them down. It's just
Yeah. But yeah, even at this late stage in the battle, I can't take it easy because he's just pouring the attacks on.
All preparations complete. I can go anytime. I will go all out.
But he's just about done.
Take this.
He's just got a little sliver of HP left. And a miss.
Stop that action! I gotta do something! And there! This is the ultimate alchemy! Stop that action!
And we got him.
So, why'd you use that magic square there?
Like I said, I was fearing that he'd turn into another Grand Dragon, but the good thing with attack items is that they're always hit, so if it really came down to that tiny sliver of HP he'd have left, the magic square would get rid of it.
Well, I meant why were you using a magic square as opposed to something that hit immediately?
I do not know. I could have easily thrown out a exit bomb, but just wasn't thinking of that, I guess.
Whatever kills it.
Yeah, as long as he's dead, that's what matters.
As interesting as the whole island surrounded by mist thing is, it's getting very samey and confusing quickly.
I'm not entirely sure why I decided to pick a fight with this guy.
I think we have the advantage! Use this! Here!
So how far did you read in the LP, Anoya?
I managed to catch all the way up.
Huh.
Use this!
So I'm kind of having an anime overload here.
Well, after I get the commentary from you guys, I'll put this video together, upload it. Should be done Saturday or Sunday or something. Then I've got the last couple normal updates to do. Then I've already got all the endings written, so I could post those in pretty rapid succession.
All preparations complete. I can go anytime.
So, do you know when Esha and Logi is coming out?
It
in the
is.
US?
It'll be less than 2 months, I think.
Okay.
Aisha was released just about the same time last year, so might be a theme going with them.
Yeah.
Feel you away.
I wish I knew more about it, because if it's like Mana Khemia, then I would pre-order it, but I don't know.
Yeah, there are probably battle videos up on YouTube or something, but I wouldn't know where to start looking since they're all probably in Japanese. Couldn't look for them very easily, but definitely looks different from this game.
It's a special super-sized bomb!
Maybe Blonde Robin would know. I could PM him.
Does he play Japanese games that are only in Japan?
Yeah, at one point he was LPing the original Atelier game, which was never released in the US, but
Charge is now complete.
he got too busy to finish it, I think.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I think I actually followed that one for a while.
Yeah, I know very, very little about the early games in this series. I mean, it seems kind of weird this series had such a spotty localization before the PS3, but they've released all of the ones since Rorona out in the US. And that's 4 games running now. Well, 5 games. Count Esha and Logi.
Not there yet.
6 if you count Atelier Annie.
Oh yeah, that was DS, right?
Yeah, although I think there were a couple DS games that came out after that they didn't bring over.
All preparations complete. I can go anytime.
Yeah, I haven't had a DS for many years now.
I've never had one. Well, the new Zelda might force my hand, but
Yeah.
I just never saw the point.
And
It actually remains the only video game system I've ever actually lost. I think it might... I have no idea where it is. I completely lost track of it one summer and just never could follow up on it. But I still have my original Game Boy Advance lying around somewhere. I don't know where that is.
For some reason, I just had trouble finishing DS games. Like, I own a bunch of them, and the only one I ever actually got an ending in at all was Atelier Annie.
Yeah, I'm a lot more of a console gamer than a handheld one. I can't even remember the last handheld game I played.
PC gaming superiority for me.
Yeah.
Well, aside from JRPGs, which is basically the only reason I own the PS3.
Yeah. RPGs and JRPGs and PCs have never gotten along.
Well, unless you're into certain things.
Yeah. And Final Fantasy 7 and 8, those got released on PC.
Yeah, they finally got to the point where the Final Fantasy 7 port is playable.
Yeah, you'd think they'd pay a lot more attention to that. Whatever. But yeah, if you want to play mainstream Japanese RPGs, consoles are pretty much your only bet.
Well, unless you count the Vita.
Oh yeah. But, and you pretty much need a PS3 if you want to play RPGs in any sizable number, because I remember Microsoft was pushing big for RPGs when the 360 first got released, but well, see, I fell off the cliff completely accidentally there, and I finally realized.
Ooh, one of the monsters followed you.
Yeah.
Yeah, persistent little guy. What was I running away from? Whatever.
It seems like there's been a resurgence in JRPGs being coming to the U.S. because for a while there we're missing out on a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, at the start of the last generation, there were not a lot of RPGs available.
I'm still mad about the PS3 version of Vesperia.
Yeah, they were hinting about that they were kind of, sort of hinting about it for a while, but nothing ever came of it.
On the other hand, I don't have to put up with whatever hideous voice they'd assigned to Patty, so... Yeah, you lose some, you win some.
But yeah, these are all basically the best ingredients in the game on this cliff top. But now the final boss is ahead of us. And it's suddenly New Year's.
Happy New Year's, we're gonna celebrate with some fireworks.
Yep.
That's interesting looking.
Is that a reskin of something, or...?
It is, yeah, we fought a couple of these guys before. But I wouldn't say this guy was very hard. He's certainly very powerful, but there's something he does that makes him not that much of a problem. I mean, at first glance, I was thinking he might be really strong, but when we really start pounding him, he turns out to have not that much defense at all. I mean, I rack up some pretty fantastic damage against him once things get rolling.
Did he just heal himself for 1,000?
Yeah, but I didn't do any damage to him, so it doesn't matter what he did. The music here is really chaotic. It makes me think of something, but I can't think of what it is.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
There's something very familiar about it, but I can't.
And the chimes are kind of out of place. The horns.
What's Wonder Cream do?
Oh, that's the item I was talking about that both gives the target a lot of MP back, it also increases their max HP, and gives them guts once. So
okay, that makes sense.
If he were to get an attack worth 180 against Linka, she'd survive with 1 HP. But what I think happens with this guy is that when he uses charge mode, his attacks will start coming in more frequently and they'll be more powerful. But but as a cost for that, his defense absolutely plummets, since I will be doing some just incredible damage against this guy. You wouldn't think I'd do that much.
And he self-heals when he hits you?
Yeah, I think he only does that for that single attack, though. I mean, it is, in the grand scheme of things, that healing is nothing. I mean, I just hit him for over 400, so completely negated his...
It seems kind of underwhelming after the last boss.
Yeah. Oh, this is just the start of it.
I can go anytime. I will go.
So a false sense of security.
Yeah, and see, look at the amount of damage Link is doing right now compared to what I was doing against Whirlwind.
Oh wow.
That attack was worth a little over 2,000 damage if I remember adding it up correctly.
Stop that action.
But yeah, his defense just plummets. It's pretty incredible.
Eliminating target obstacle. Here.
I think he'll use a charge mode fairly soon. And he'll start becoming a little more dangerous, but not a whole lot.
So these reskins, do they all pretty much have the same animations?
Yeah, basically.
Do they all have 6 eyes? For this guy?
This guy does, yeah.
Yeah, but does whatever he's reskinned from have 6 eyes?
Yeah. Oh, and the thing with increasing max HP is that the effect wears off after a couple turns. I mean, Linka's max HP went down by like 50 a couple turns ago.
Okay, there's charge mode.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That attack was worth a little more than 500.
I gotta do something.
I only have one Wonder Cream left.
Use this. Here. Use this. Restart completed. Energy charge is now complete.
Oh, the single highest damage attack is coming up right now.
Target elimination. Full power release.
2,649 damage.
Damn.
I will clear this area.
But amazingly, Linka manages to top that this turn.
I will clear this area.
So does the defense keep going down every time it charges?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I should not be doing this much damage against him.
Take this, if you can.
For those following along at home, that attack did more than 3,000 damage. So he lost more than a quarter of his HP with just 2 attacks.
I will seal you away.
didn't know what to say getting close to the end like this.
Yeah. Well, he starts getting really aggressive right about now, and as you can see from my items, I'm kind of running out here.
Oh yeah.
So, my idea was, with him starting to pile on the attacks, what I'd do is I'd throw all of my power into a single, really crushing offensive to try and kill him before I just get utterly hammered.
It's a bit scary, but I will hold back. Restart completed. Focusing and pierce through.
And man, those forbidden capsules really help in really throwing the damage out. See, he's got 4 attacks in a turn order right now. And the thing is, with my revival item at the bottom of my turn order, that means if he can survive very much longer, he'll get a quite nice streak of pummeling my team. So if I can't kill him very quickly, he'll probably win. But obviously that doesn't happen.
Stop that action. And there.
Just has a sliver of HP left.
It's a bit scary.
Went out with a bang, I see.
Yep.
Stop that action. Here.
And yeah, now he's completely screwed. If Linka can survive, she's definitely gonna finish this.
Shutting down system. Here. Restart completed. High-speed signal sent. And there. All preparations complete. I can go anytime.
And it's game.
Go all out. Everything with this move. This is goodbye. Guard duty was accomplished.
And that's basically the end of the video.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright.
Brief bit of running around, taking the sights a little.
Yeah. I guess nice working with you.
Yep.
Likewise.
Hopefully I will see you two in another LP.
Cool.
Okay. Right.